Hey folks, so good news, we've had our parts arrive. So we have our FPV telemetry, we have our power reduction power module, we have our GPS unit, and we have the ArduPilot control board. So our mission over the next few days is to get my car, which is an old 2004 lossy remote control, which was previously controlled with a AM receiver right here, and an ESC controller over here, and a servo up the front here. So it was previously used for an autonomous car with a Raspberry Pi which had Pi camera feedback. So our goal, and we've also got a brushed motor which is new for low torque situations, for low speed. So our goal over the next few days is to convert from an AM receiver, handheld manual control, and we're going to try and control it with our GPS unit to an ArduPilot, which will control our car. So the resources we have at hand are some Raspberry Pi 3B pluses, some Pi Zeros which we probably won't use, some servo hats, we've got LEDs, we've got IMU controllers, inertia moment units, we've got push buttons, we've got LED strips to make it look really cool, we've got jumper wires, male to female and female to male and all sorts of things. We've got Velcro, we've got new LiPo batteries, and most importantly, or hopefully, we've got Ben's Pixhawk, which he's almost got running, which is very similar. So he uses a GPS controller to a Pixhawk. He's got the LiPo batteries under there somewhere. He's got a buzzer, which I don't have, so I don't have a buzzer. Got a power module over there. What else have we got in there?
Receiver.
We've got some brushless.
Spectrum receiver.
We've got a PPM receiver. And a pretty powerful, chunky, 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel steering beast. So hopefully over the next 2 days, or next 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 days, we can get both of these cars we can get both of these cars running on GPS, and then over the next few months what we hope to do is integrate it with the Raspberry Pi so we can do obstacle avoidance, use some vision detection for obstacle avoidance, and maybe do some other cool stuff like deliver some pizzas or some brochures, or who knows. Anyway, project starts tonight, what's today, the 18th of September 2018, so let's see how we go. Okie dokie, we're about 2 or 3 hours in so far. On the build on the car, we now have the APM module feeding power to our pilot. We also have our controller over here. So we have our handpiece, which is operational, and it's currently communicating with our aerial here. It's underneath the tyre. Anyway, the aerial is feeding the AM receiver. Whoops, what's that all about? Oh, I've got low battery on the receiver. We'll turn that off. Okay, it is jittering a bit because we've turned the receiver off.
I know. Had it on metal.
No, it was jittering because the receiver was on the metal, on the pin. Anyway, we've got the receiver going into the pilot into channels 1 and 3. So the ESC is on 3, that rhymes, and the steering is on channel 1. We've also got the pilot going into the ESC from channel 3 again from the output, and the steering on channel 1. we've got the FPV telemetry plugged in, and we've got green lights working. We've got the compass plugged in, and that's working. What else we got? The ESC light, well, that's on, so it's working, so that's great. Over on the computer, we've got the FPV receiver into the computer, and when we go to device manager, it's coming up as COM7. So we're hoping now that the hardware install is complete and we can get into the calibration side of it. So let's keep going. So we're now in day 2 and we have the car hardware set up. So I've got the GPS at the front, sitting on Velcro and a Perspex stand. We've got the radio transmitter set up here. We've wired the GPS magnet and GPS into the ArduPilot here. We've also got the AM receiver taking signals from the radio controller and putting those signals into the ArduPilot over here, which is very complex, lots of wires everywhere. So there's wires going in, so the ESC is in number 3 and the throttle, or the steering is in number 1. And then we've got the throttle outputs over here from the ArduPilot to the respective wires. We've got the battery step down over here, the ESC controllers here. We've also got a handheld radio that's working. We've also got an Xbox controller, because the problem we found is this is only a 2-channel receiver, doesn't have an arm and disarm switch. So we're going to use an Xbox controller that's plugged into the computer. We've got mission planner set up, and we're ready to go to the park for a test run.
Okay, Marty's ArduRover maiden flight, maiden drive.
Oh, hang on. Steering's back to front.
Okay, just hit reverse. Does this have a zoom or not?
No. That's flat out too.
Okay, so we're controlling this car using an Xbox controller, and so it's not autonomous yet.
Just shut the controller. So there we go, that's forwards.
We.
So we've got steering.
Here we go. So we've set the Xbox controller up into Mission Planner. Mission Planner has a function where you can plug in a game controller and control the car, basically through your radio telemetry. So we haven't worked it out yet, but you can effectively eliminate your radio controller, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because we're running on 915 megahertz anyway, and so you can get quite a bit of range with 915 megahertz.
Well, let's see what range we can get.
So Marty's just testing out the range on. Mason, 2 hands on the controller!
Hard to see now.
Yeah, you're still controlling it well.
Yeah.
Keep going. So head towards the tracks.
Something's come loose.
Could be that you've run out of run out of range.
Okay.
Now what about the other controller? Grab the other controller.
Do I need to switch it?
Hang on a second, let's go disable. Okay, now, see if that makes any difference. No. No, you got the walk of shame.
If I do a donut run it.
Oh, okay. Well, make it go down that way, okay? Just go slow, don't go fast. That will go on by itself then. Like that.
Self-aware mode.
I don't know if I like that.
Did a wheelie. Dad, it did a wheelie.
Yeah.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Walk of shame.
That's it. Walk of shame. Watch out, buddy. Watch out. Okay, now let's see if we're going to have... There we go. Reverse now, okay? Steering. What did I do? So the GPS looks like it's on song, and the directions. It's looking like a beast. And the great thing is, now I can go in reverse. See how quickly it stops? About as fast as I'm pretty happy how fast it's going now. Okay, so what we can do, let's test this feature out. So let's test this feature out. So we can actually go right click and it will do it by itself. Ready? Watch this. So to that footy field, ready? Fly here. I don't know how you get it out of guided mode. Why did it do that, Marty?